Live. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the After Hours edition of Ask Dr. Vincent. And tonight, it literally is after hours because we have been so busy with Christmas, New Year's, and now uh, I have just found time to actually do this. I promise you, I'm not abandoning this. Thank you so much for being with us from the very beginning, from episode one, and now we are venturing into the second half of our first season. And today is very special because I know that usually I am online going live with my co-founder, my friend, my co-host Christian, but Christian is otherwise engaged. Actually, uh, we have a very, very cool surprise for you next week. But in the meantime, and I'm not saying this to in any way diminish the amazingness of this person, but I just grabbed someone from the office. His name is Marty. Say hello, Marty.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for filling in for Christian. You're our guest star today.
I am. I hope I can do a good job of it.
Don't be shy. You can speak louder.
I
Christian
can speak
usually
loud. I know he
really
does, and I will work on that.
But anyhow, thank you so much for coming on. And I know that you you're someone who really you strive to lead a healthy lifestyle. You strive to be good in what you eat. You strive to move a lot more, building up your strength, building up your core in terms of your exercise routine, as well as paying a little bit more attention to your diet and nutrition. And I see you every day doing that and try to be 1% better every day. But I I guess today what I want to talk about is mainly about how for s- how hard it is for someone who loves food, myself included,
Oh, me too.
to make a meaningful change when it comes to our diet and nutrition. Because I have to say that I grew up being overweight. I grew up being fat, and my parents always kind of tease me about that. So I have, I don't know, I don't have the healthiest relationship when it comes to food. So I would like to ask you, Marcy, because you're coming into diet and nutrition and healthy lifestyle not from the background of being a nutritionist, not from the background of being a personal trainer, but an everyday person who is busy. You're a parent. You run a reasonably successful brand, which is Renovatio. And how do you balance everything but still putting your health, prioritizing your well-being?
Oh, well, that's difficult. I suppose I am someone who has not been very good at that for a very long time. So we're coming into a new year, new you kind of situation, and I'm definitely trying to do much better. We're only, 9 days into the year?
We're going live, so it's the ninth.
Yes. So we're 9 days into the year, and I'm doing well so far. But I suppose that opens up the conversation around how long do New Year's resolutions last? And
What is it about New Year do you think that gives people that motivation? Because statistically, the gym is the busiest January and February, and it then tapers off, February, March, and so on. So
well, here in Australia, at least, I think there's that beauty of that it's summer as well, versus how do they do that in America or in the Northern Hemisphere where it could be cold in January? So
well,
not
it was
only
really cold in March in Chicago when we were there for our US trip. So
exactly. So just the idea of getting out and going for a run in the cold versus here, it's very easy, really. It's summer. It's the time you want to be out enjoying the outdoors and things like that. So I suppose I'd be interested to get your take on how people do that when they have to just rug up and go to the gym and things like that because it must die off really fast.
I think so. I really do think that our environment and the external factors and influences are very important when it comes to not only starting a health kick, but also committing and staying committed and devoted to your health goals. And I do believe that one of the things that make people motivated during this New Year's, New You sort of kind of situation is that people like a new beginning. People like a reason to start something new. It's almost like people are waiting for a sign, for a big sign that this is it. This is how you start. This is the day one of you starting something. And New Year's not only about health, not only about diet and nutrition and exercise, it it sort of kind of bleeds into things like starting a new career, starting a new habit, buying a new house, for example, or moving into a new place. And I do believe that it is a good thing and it can be really useful if you ride the wave and maintain that momentum. Because what I know scientifically, as well as working with people as a nutritionist and advising people when it comes to their health, being healthy or a healthy lifestyle is not about extremes. It's not about the things that you do uh, to the most. It's not about how much you can bench press, how long you can go on a intermittent fasting, but consistency beats perfection. So I guess what we are trying to do, at least for myself, and whenever people ask me about the advice on how to get onto a healthier lifestyle, is that you find that little things that you know you can commit to do every day. So do you have something that you commit to in terms of uh in the past 9 days of the new year that you think can be sustainable?
Yeah, I suppose I'm being very good with my activated greens now, which is one thing that we get to try and use here. But along with that, just the simple things like eating good food that's colorful and fresh, like that is something that we don't necessarily always do in our lives, and especially when you got kids and things like that. Things out of the freezer and things like that are quick, easy, and get the job done. But things that are fresh can be quick and easy too. You just need to do them right so they taste good.
And also you need a little bit of planning because
Yes.
nothing beats Uber Eats or taking out a pack of frozen nuggets and put it in an air fryer. But
I love the air fryer.
I love the air fryer. If you are a regular listeners to this program, to this podcast, you would know that I am very proud in saying that I was an early adopter of air fryer. Before it was even a thing, I was already a big proponent of air fryer. But that's a sidebar. Let's go back to what you were saying. I think a lot of people underestimate how easy it is for ultra processed foods to sneak in into our diet. Almost everything is ultra processed. If you go down your supermarket aisle, it is almost impossible to find something that are just processed. Everything tends to be ultra processed with added sugar, added artificial sweetener, coloring and preservatives, things that are not very good for your body when you eat it every day.
But things that you totally think are fine may or not be when you really look at them, right?
Give me an example.
Hell, bread. Some of those breads can be pretty bad, right?
That is correct. I mean, in the office here, we well, not at the moment because I love bread, Marty loves bread, and Kaka loves bread. Uh, so whenever I bake bread in the office, well, Christian does love bread too. We'll just eat bread with butter and Vegemite. I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is, sorry, I need to give a very special shout out. Hi, Chris Kemlo. Uh, what I'm trying to say is that when you compare the ingredients of making bread, which is literally flour, yeast, water, and a little bit of salt, to a paragraph, sometimes two paragraphs of ingredients. I mean, if you have sliced bread at home, go and check. Not now. Listen to me now. Listen to us. What I'm trying to say is that go and check your bread, the package of your bread, turn it over, and you just read through all of the ingredients. Those are all of the
No
ingredients that
wonder
are
it
added.
lasts, right? No
Yeah,
wonder it lasts for so long.
even at room temperature. That's
Yeah.
correct. And they tend to stay softer or soft the texture. You don't even really have to toast them
Yeah.
to eat them. But compare it to bread in Europe, for example. People in Europe are so accustomed in buying bread once a day, sometimes even twice a day. So the bread of the day basically get eaten, and if it's not eaten, they turn it into breadcrumbs or things like that. You don't necessarily put the bread, buy the bread in bulk or buy a big loaf and eat it through the week. And that's the reason why a lot of people, and you probably one of those people who probably say that, oh, I can't really eat bread here in Australia. Or if you are tuning in from America, you probably think that, oh, you can't really tolerate bread. You're gluten intolerant. But then you have a summer in Europe. Before you know it, you're munching into a really nice crunchy baguette, crusty baguette, I mean. So the way that they make their food there is very different. And this is something that we noticed when we did our American trip.
Oh, definitely. Not just portion sizes, but the actual amount of sugar and preservatives and things that we don't see here was very different.
And Marty is not only talking about processed or ultra processed food. Tell us a story about the ground beef or mince.
Oh, if you moved from Australia to America and continued to buy exactly the same things that you buy here and cook for yourself, you would automatically gain, I think, about 15% of extra calories just based on things like buying five-star mints
So,
in the
so their
supermarket.
5-star mince is literally our 3.5-star mince here.
Yes.
So even when you think you're eating healthy, the system is almost like the system traps you.
Yeah.
And I know before you jump on my case when it comes to make America healthy again, because recently RFK Jr., Mr. Secretary of Health in the US, just flipped the food pyramids. So instead of me being at the top of the pyramid, it is now forming the foundation of pyramid,
But
the
what's
food
in the
pyramid.
middle of that pyramid?
At the middle of the pyramid has always been and will always be an apple, because we do believe that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And I don't know if you know this, I'm joking, because Marty literally just wrote a really nice sentence that he put onto our founder's card. So if you put in an order for Renovatio at renovatio.com.au within the next 2-3 weeks, you will get a founder card from me. But on that card, Marty actually put that out of, I'll let you say that.
Out of 1,755. Wow, I wish I could remember it off by heart. I'm really bad now. Out of 1,755 different edible fruits, apples have the highest number of free phenolic antioxidants available out of any of them.
Which makes them the most potent dietary antioxidants. And pair that with my technology that allows us to extract and activate these phenolic antioxidants, you get the world's most potent antioxidants when it comes to it being natural, high in concentration, the widest spectrum of different phenolic profile. And that's the reason why I I put up a post this morning about how hard it is being a founder, being the CEO, being the technical director of Renovatio. And not only that, I'm also a co-founder of Vincent Plus. If any of you are tuning in from the US, please go to our Amazon storefront, vincentplus.com. Check out our range there. Uh, but what I was getting at was that it is really hard, but it is also a very joyful experience and adventure, because every day we wake up to messages from people who have been using our products for sometimes just a week, sometimes for weeks, for months, for years. And
You read one to me today that was really quite good, around a person that's been using our tablets for 4 years and essentially is pain free,
yeah,
which is great.
instead of having to either be confined within their pain, cannot move, or being reliant and dependent on medication. And I'm not saying that you should stop your medication. Please talk to your health practitioner. But this is the story that we hear every day. And that gets to me. That is the reason why we do this, because we
Yeah,
do good things for people.
we do. But should we get back to
We
the
should.
topic on hand?
We should go back to
I
the topic at
suppose
hand.
when we're talking about things like New Year's resolutions, if someone just wanted to improve their health without going on a huge diet, where should they start?
Off the top of my head, I think there are 5 things that people need to be mindful of when it comes to improving their health, their lifestyle, their when I say health, I'm not only saying about physical health, but also mental health and well-being. The first one is hydration. I know this sounds really simple. I know that this is something that people often trivialize or people often underestimate, but the vast majority of our body, 70%, approximately 70% of our body is water. Even the reduction in tiny amount of water and amount of hydration in our body can cause our brain to shrink, can cause our blood to thicken, which impact the overall activity of our body. So make sure that you drink plenty of water, you drink enough water. You don't have to go by 6 to 8 cups or glasses a day. It really depends on your activity, depends on your body size, and it really depends on where you live. If you live through winter, make sure that you drink water even when you don't feel thirsty, because when your body is cold, when the temperature is a little bit cooler, your body misses that signal from your brain that tells you to drink water. The general rule of thumb when it comes to hydration level is that whenever you go to urinate in the toilet, just check the color of your urine. If
You beat me to it. I was about to say, it's a P gauge, right?
it's a P gauge, it needs to be pale straw. Like, it doesn't have to be clear, because if it's clear all the time, that is not good either. Too much of a good thing is not good. So you need to make sure that it is not too yellow, it's not too dark. It needs to be straw color, pale color, yellow pale color. That's the first one. The second one, move. I know that not everyone is into going to the gym. Not everyone is into going to join a run club or do all of this what I consider as extreme activities when it comes to sports. However, all of us can can put in an effort to walk 6,000, at least 6,000 or 6,600. There is a new study that shows that you don't have to walk 10,000 steps a day. I still believe that between 6,000 to 10,000 is the goal. If you can move more, move more. Walking is
Why
very,
not?
walking is a very simple thing to do. Again, sometimes when it's too simple, people just underestimate the power of it, the impact of it. But when you move, what happens is that you help your blood circulation, you help your blood oxygenation. And that is very important, because blood oxygenation and circulation transport all of these nutrients, all of this oxygen to every part of our body, to every organ, including our brain. It gives us, it gives our brain more fuel. It improves our memory. It improves our mood. It actually also helps to improve our metabolic rate. And what you want to do when you want to lose weight is to improve your metabolic rate. Because if your metabolic rate goes up, your body is a lot more efficient in utilizing the calorie instead of storing them. So that's number 2.
So walking is like our internal reset button, the one that comes along with New Year, New You.
I think so. And I do believe that when you walk a lot, it literally energizes and stimulate your system to be awakened. And our body biologically is very lazy. What it wants to do is just to conserve energy, to make sure it doesn't actually exert any amount of energy. It just wants to conserve it. And the reason is because there is a genetic predisposition in our human evolution that we want to survive, because evolution is the survival of the fittest. And back in the day, our ancestor, food was scarce, food was rare. You don't Food was not guaranteed.
Yeah.
People didn't eat regularly. So biologically, our system always try to conserve energy. Whenever there is a drop in our fat percentage in our body starts to send this very strong hunger signal. That's the reason why a lot of people, when they try to lose weight, as soon as their body fat percentage drops or go lower,
And they feel super hungry.
they feel super hungry, and that can ruin their effort. That can ruin their diet. Because once you feed your hunger, which is an illusion created by your brain,
And
you
potentially,
you begin to square one.
but is some of that hunger also being triggered by the foods that we may eat?
That is correct. You brought up a really interesting topic when it comes to, which is a good segue to our third point. Some of the foods were created purposely to make you crave more, to make you eat more. This excess sugar, this excess salt, the type and amount of fat that they are being used in the processing of the food makes you want to eat more. Because guess what? When you eat more of this packaged food, when you eat more of this processed food, you buy more. And you may think this is so trivial, but if every household eat one package more of chips or crisps,
That's a lot more money.
that's a lot more money for the food manufacturer. So this is something that you need to be mindful of, which is my third point.
We're targeted to eat more, right?
We are targeted to eat more, and unfortunately, our through the evolutionary process, our genetic predisposition got triggered and respond to that.
Well, we're like Labradors.
We are a little bit Labrador. Obviously, there is always an exception to the rule. However, for the majority of us, eating can become an addiction. And unfortunately, it is not always our fault. It is not always the problem of self control. It's almost like we have been set up to fail when it comes to how our brain signal our body in terms of feeling full or feeling hungry. It backs our brain to the corner in the way that it gives that dopamine cycle that you want more, which is, I don't know about you, but once I open a pack of chips or Pringles, I have that, I have to really put in a concerted effort to stop,
To take them away.
to take them away,
Put them away. Hide them.
hide them from me, right?
Yeah.
But the third point that I wanted to bring to this New Year's resolution is the type of food that we eat.
Yeah.
I know that it's really hard to eat fresh 100% of the time. I know that it's really hard to say that I don't want to eat ultra processed food or processed food, because let's face it, most of us, we are time poor. Sometimes we're a little bit lazy, and it's okay. And sometimes we think it's actually cheaper to buy food, prepared food in the freezer, in the fridge aisle, compared to cooking it from scratch.
Well, it gets the job done.
That is correct. But what I'm proposing is that you don't have to be good 100% of the time. 80-20. I mean, I would love it if we all can just somehow magically do 100% fresh whole food all the time. Unfortunately, we live in a real world where for the vast majority of us, it is impossible. So 80-20. If you are being good 80% of the time, your body can handle the 20% of the time. And I'm not saying things like, because some people, someone asked me the other day, if you're being healthy 90% of the time, can you then smoke or vape? That is that is not what I'm talking here about here, because I do think that it doesn't matter how healthy you are, the smoking and the vaping, and they undo this habit and undo every good things that you try to put.
Well, the reality is that even the worst foods still have some sort of nutrient benefit, right?
For the vast majority of it, yes. And
Versus something like
versus something that is.
smoking. Yeah.
And I do believe that if you're good 80% of the time, the 20% of the time, you would actually recognize when a food is extremely unhealthy. This is the thing. Whenever people start a new diet, when you say things like vegan diet or gluten-free diet helps you lose weight, it is actually not the diet.
It's a
It is
focus, right?
it is the focus and the education. When you start thinking about what you eat, you suddenly find out a lot more about what you're eating. So when you're committing to a vegan diet, vegetarian diet, or a gluten-free diet, what you will do is you will flip the packaging, you will actually read the ingredients to find out whether or not it's vegan or to find out whether or not it's gluten-free. And then you get the information, you come across the information about certain things that you probably will give you a pause and say that perhaps I don't want to put this kind of thing into my body.
Yep.
I don't want to put color in. I don't want to put this type of preservative in my body. And being mindful about what you eat is actually really powerful, and knowledge is power. And you will find that instead of the 80% becomes 60%, 50%, and lower, a lot of the time, the 20% becomes less and less.
Yeah.
Your body craves the nutrients. Your body craves that good stuff that you eat.
Well, they end up powering you.
That is correct. And having a wide variety of food that are mainly fresh and not and minimally processed are key to longevity. There are two diets in the world where consistently throughout history, the people who follow those diets live to over 100. Do you want to have a guess which two diets?
I'm guessing Japanese and Mediterranean.
You're correct, Japanese and Mediterranean. But geographically, and I'm talking obviously now it's different, but back in the day, they are very, very different.
Yes. But it's quite funny because having been to Japan, all or a lot of the people live from food from convenience stores. So does that mean that their convenience food store is significantly better
The
than
quality of
other
it is
parts of the world?
significantly better. You probably would notice most of the sushi or the onigiri or even the oden or I can't remember what's this, like the chicken katsu and stuff like that were prepared fresh in the store.
Okay.
They would have a chef or a cook in store and cook it for you and pack it for you. They're not just something that comes from the freezer and being deep fried or twice fried in
Yeah.
store. So I think whilst it is pre-prepared, the amount of respect that they have for their food is actually really admirable. Sometimes to the point of well, I'm saying this with a lot of love, annoyance, because I used to work in a sushi restaurant when I was a student. And I was told that in Japan, someone has to work basically be an apprentice under an experienced chef for years before they can actually roll sushi. And I felt so disrespectful that someone who has nothing to do with Japanese culture, go into this restaurant and start rolling sushi
On day one.
on day one. So it's just so different when it comes to the respect that they have about their food. But what I was going to say was that even though they are so different in terms of geographically, the location, as well as what they eat, the one thing that the two things, they have two things in common: the Mediterranean diet and the Japanese diet. They eat a wide variety of food from animal, plants, grains, and stuff like that. And they are mostly minimally processed.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why those two aspects, when it comes to what we eat, are the main driver for longevity.
There you go.
And number 4 of the 5 things that we need to be mindful of when it comes to New Year, New You, number 4 is about stress. I know that it is easier said than done. You can't just say that don't get stressed, because it is a natural response from our body, from our brain.
Especially after you're doing this and you're going back to work at the same time, and all of a sudden you've got everything to do again.
And also, you can't simply remove yourself from the stressful situation, nor can you remove the stressors from your life. Because if you're a parent, and forgive me for saying this, and your kids are the source of your stress, you can't simply stop become a parent. Or if your job is stressful, sure, you can change job, but it is not something that you can immediately remove yourself from the situation that makes you stress out, or a situation that puts you in a place where you're stressed out.
And some people thrive on a bit of that stress, right?
Some people do, and this is what I'm trying to get to, because it is less about reducing the amount of stress or avoiding stress. It's more about elevating your resilience. It's more about building up your resilience. And this is not something that tells you to ignore your stress level or to ignore the signals that your body is giving you when it comes to handling and managing stress. What I'm trying to say is that there are steps that you can do. There are steps that you can do to mitigate the harmful impact of stress.
So you're saying that steps 1, 2, and 3 will help step 4?
I totally believe that, because in Indonesian proverb there's a saying: healthy body is a home for healthy mind. So you need to be healthy physically to house your mental well-being. So even improving your gut and digestive system helps to improve your mood. Our gut is our second brain. 70% of our immune system is originating from our gut. 70% of our uh, mood and metabolic system that has anything to do with what we have up here, that signal whether we are hungry or full or managing craving, start from our gut. This is the reason why step number 1 in terms of hydration, step number 2 in terms of moving, step number 3 in terms of what you eat, they're all very important in supporting step number 4, which is making sure that your body and psychology are equipped and are prepared to handle stress.
So again, you're saying we're a Labrador.
We need, yes,
We're controlled by our gut.
we're controlled by our gut. That's correct. But just like Labrador, we're also trainable.
Ah, yeah. Fair.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is a saying that there is no such thing as untrainable dog, but there is such thing as untrainable human.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are saying, building on your equation and parable when it comes to we are Labrador, it also gives us hope that we can train ourselves so that we cultivate good habit, so that we are committed to doing something that are healthy for us, because
and that means that it lasts more than the 30 days of January, essentially.
that's correct, because it takes 6 weeks for us to see the impact, the result of our new habit.
Yeah.
And it takes another 6 weeks for people to
retain
to
the
re-
habit.
no, for people to recognize the impact.
And how long of building that habit does it take to actually make it a habit?
I would say it's actually not that long. So I have to say that it depends from one person to another, but 1 to 3 weeks, these first 3 weeks are the most pivotal moment. Usually, when you can last 3 weeks, you are more than likely to retain this new habit compared to if you give up in the first 3 weeks. The other thing that I always use as a rule of thumb in terms of making sure you stick to a good habit is that you never do the bad habit 3 times in a row. Say, for example, you're really tired and you decide that I'm not going to go for my run.
Yeah.
You don't do it once. The next day, you're so tired again and you don't do it. Please stop, take a pause, and don't do it for the third time. Because if you do it for the third time,
You've broken the habit.
you've broken the habit. So, as I always say, 3 is the magic number.
There you go. How about we now skip on to number 5?
Number 5, which I would argue is the foundation of everything. And you would say that, is it more important than being hydrated? Is it more important than eating healthy? Is it more important than managing stress? And is it more important than moving? And I would say yes. And this fifth element to building New Year, New You is good quality sleep. Your body can function, your body can burn fat, your body can concentrate, your body cannot manage itself, your body cannot protect itself, your body cannot build itself when you don't sleep, when sleep is absent. And again, it is not only about the quantity, it's not 6 to 8 hours or 8 to 10 hours, whichever the route that you believe in. It's more about quality. And I do believe that when you sleep well, you are giving your body a clean slate, an opportunity to start fresh every day. And if you don't, almost everything else don't matter.
I love it. Thank you.
So which part of the 5 things that you think people will find the hardest to implement?
I think that getting good quality sleep is harder than we really think it is. Sometimes, I suppose, it's very easy to look at your phone too long, get caught up doing something for that little bit too long, and all of a sudden you're going to sleep having a million thoughts and they're interrupting, I'm guessing.
Here is the fun fact. I don't know if you know this or here's fun fact. I don't know if you know this or not, but humans have been sleeping and having a scheduled sleep even before the clock or the concept of time was invented.
Really?
Of course.
Well, like, obviously we need sleep. Like, you can't go without it, but and I suppose in the animal world as well, like, they sleep at night unless they're nocturnal, and then they sleep during the day.
That is
So
correct.
so so it's really scheduled. It's just naturally scheduled.
Yes. And if you just stop and think about that, you would probably also think that the one thing that regulates this schedule and this habit is our perception of light. So the sun has always been there in terms of indicating daytime and nighttime. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you
Yeah.
uh is a daytime animal or a nighttime animal, they still are being regulated with the perception of light. And that's the reason why having our phone and doom scrolling just before we go to bed really messes up with our perception of light.
Yeah,
Because
really.
our screen emits the blue light that mimics the morning sunlight, which to our brain, that is the signal for us to wake up, to be awake, to be aware, to be alert. And having
Okay.
that simulation when we are supposed to go to bed really awakens that brain. And when your brain is awake, it has all of these thoughts, all of these worries, all of these dreams, all of these hopes, and all of this excitement, because that is what brain is supposed to do when it is being signaled to be awake. So without us thinking about it, without us knowing about it, our phone is the one single thing that prevent us from having a good night's sleep.
So is falling asleep with the TV on as bad?
That's a little bit different when it comes to that, because how many times you are watching Netflix or you're watching TV,
And fall asleep in the middle of a show?
but you have less amount of concentration when you do watch your TV or your show compared to when you're on your phone.
True. True.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people are watching TV at the same time checking their phone. Checking their phone.
Well, I was reading something the other day that these Netflix and all of those things now are essentially making shows dumber so that people essentially don't have to actually watch because they'll be watching their phone whilst they've got a show on in the background.
You're right. So the movie studios are being directed to make sure that people can still understand and follow the storyline even when they're not 100% dedicated and glued to their screen.
Wow, crazy.
So that is the thing that we have to really be mindful of, because unfortunately a lot of times I hear people saying that we don't need to think too much about health. We don't need to be too obsessed with our health and well-being, because back in the day, my parents or my grandparents, sure, that is all factual. But another thing that's also factual is that the amount of external stimulation and external factors when it comes to the influence that our body needs to be resilient of, or our body needs to fan itself from, are totally different from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago. A lot of us underestimate the power of the screen over us. Especially, I mean, I'm a young millennial, so I'm probably the last generation that was not born into digital. Your kids, my kids, our grandkids will be the digital natives. They don't even have to think when it comes to using tech, when it comes to using gadgets and adapting to new technology. But the one thing that hasn't caught up yet is our system, is our biological system. And if we are not careful, I'm all for progress, I'm all for new technology, but if we are not careful, it can backfire and reduce our quality of life
And our health.
and therefore our health. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, with that, if Christian was here, he would say that we're running out of time, but he's not here, so it's okay. I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so sorry that we're off for 2 weeks, but we're now back. And next week, I have a special surprise for you. Thank you so much, Marty, from the office.
Thank you very much for having me.
And with that, make sure that you follow us, share this episode to people. Maybe it will help them to commit to their New Year's resolution. And until then, see you. Bye bye.